Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The series starts in the northern border of the Croesus kingdom. We see a man with an army behind him, and this is the lord of the northern frontier, named Ducal. He says this is unbelievable. As we see what they're up against is none other than zombies, he says that the number of undead is beyond his imagination. Also there is a terrifying poison mist with them. One of the men tells the Duke to look over, as there is an undead knight, Durian. Even 10 high-ranking knights fighting to the death couldn't guarantee victory against him. He says with their forces right now, they definitely can't win, so they should retreat and prepare for a siege. But the Duke says that they can't. The northern wall has already fallen. If the city gate breaks too, this nation is finished. No matter the sacrifice, they have to hold them back today. Somebody rides past him, charging straight forward, and the Duke asks who that is charging in so recklessly. His men tell him that is Lord Urun Rocks, sent here from the southern Marquisate of Rocks. As Urun throws out some attacks from his hands, the Duke says that that is the one who fights with the daggers, but his opponent is Durian, and there's no way the daggers would do anything, as it would be impossible to kill him. But we see it actually having an effect as Durian's skin begins melting, and he begins screaming in pain. And the Duke and his knight are surprised that he's melting, asking how in the hell this is possible. Urun throws out 3 more daggers, each one piercing one of the zombies in the head, before it too begins melting. They ask what's going on for the zombies to be melting away in a single strike, saying that maybe he's a saint sent by the heavens. Urun says not to make him laugh with that shitty title, but there's one good reason as to why he can do this. We see he actually has a status window, and he's using something called the Firebone Mountain, and the reason he can absorb the miasma is due to his 10,000 poison absorption technique. He starts gaining experience, and he says that he's just been farming skills all for himself. We get a flashback to 6 months earlier, as we see him waking up. He asks where he is, and a woman asks if he's finally awake. He's surprised to see her, wondering what a beauty is doing in his room. He says that her clothes are strange, and she has a sword at her waist. She asks if he feels okay, and before he answers, she says she'll call the priest. He tells her to wait, but he says that he wanted to ask her something. She dips, and he can't believe that she just left like that. He then wonders where he is. He then spots something out of the corner of his eye, and it's a mirror, and he stands up before it, asking what's going on. He wonders what happened to his body, saying that he used to be sexy in middle age, and now he looks like some fat-ass little kid. He says that he can't figure this out, asking if he is in a dream. He says that if he goes back to sleep, then maybe he'll wake up. The priest then enters. We see a noble man approaching him, calling out to him, saying that he is the disgrace of this household, and he can't believe he's just now decided to wake up. He wonders who this scary old man is, and the priest says that the young master has only just woken up, so he should save the punishment for later. The dude looks annoyed, as he pouts off to his side. The priest says that for someone who fainted, he isn't badly hurt, and his mind seems stable, and most of the injuries have healed, which is a relief. The noble says not to make him laugh, as it would have been better if he had died, assaulting his fiancée cowardly, and that not even a beast would do so, and he should be ashamed of himself. He tells him that he's already 19 years old, and it's about time he grew the hell up. Even his younger brother has already awakened his aura, and he, the eldest, just gets fatter by the day. He wonders what he means by aura, and the noble, who is his father, begins walking away, saying that once he's recovered, he should go straight to her and apologize properly. He asks who he's talking about, and he reminds him that he needs to go talk to his fiancée Elia, because if she doesn't forgive him, he's finished. Then he asks if he understands, and he says yes, sir. In any case, he shouldn't disgrace the Rocks family anymore, and this is where we learn that this is Urun. He's surprised, asking if he is truly Urun Rocks, and he realizes who this must be, asking him if he is the Marquis, Wellington Rocks. His father, Wellington, starts to get pissed that he's calling him by his first name, and gives him the front hand, asking how dare he call his father by his name. Urun's eyes start to go white as he falls down onto the ground. The priest and the maid start calming him down, and Urun says this can't be happening, and there's no way, and this has to be a dream. His vision goes to black, and when he opens them again, he sees the same ceiling, and jolts awake. He asks why the hell he's not waking up from this dream. The woman from earlier approaches him, asking if he's awake again. He then recognizes her, asking if she is Erin. She says yes, and he starts trying to wrap his head around it. He asks if the reason he's lying here is because he went after Elia and got beat up and passed out. She says that's not exactly it, but wonders why he's being so formal. He then quickly changes it, and awkwardly asks the same question, and she says yes. He attacked Lady Ilya here, and she beat him senseless until he fainted. He says this shit is awful, and she wonders what's wrong with him. Yurun says that he is absolutely screwed. It's clear now, somehow, that he's ended up inside of the web novel he wrote, not even as the protagonist, but as the trash villain who picks a fight with the hero, and dies miserably. He grits his teeth, saying he refuses to believe this is happening. Aaron asks if he's okay, and he starts screaming, saying this isn't even a webtoon, and she asks what that even is. He begins crying, saying that the person he's possessed, to put it simply, is a scumbag. He has no talent, no skill, and never trains. He just leeches off his family's name as the heir, got fat as hell, and lost his fiancée to the protagonist. And in a fit of anger, he attacked him from behind, only to get beaten down, and eventually dies in some back alley, which is a pitiful death. He says that in a world this uncertain, he wonders how he's meant to survive. While this is a fantasy world, he doesn't know what abilities he has, but he says that he knows about the chances and items the protagonist hasn't found yet, and that he needs to prepare fast. He has trouble standing up, saying that he forgot how fat this body is, and Aaron asks if he's okay. He says of course not, and then sees something above her. She says that he should still be resting, and then he loses sight of what he saw. He wonders what it was, and then he starts frowning, saying maybe that's the trigger. And then a status window appears directly beside her, and he sees her traits, as well as her affection. She asks if he's okay, and he says that he must have gone crazy for a second, telling her to go take care of her task. She says yes sir, and he watches as she leaves, saying that it makes sense that she has the swift sword trait, as he set her up to be stronger and more talented than regular knights. But he wonders what the affection stat is, and asks if he's in a dating sim of his novel. He says that it would make sense, because he only really played dating sims before, but he always played the weird ones involving his sisters. He admits he's a freak, but he wonders who the hell put him in here, and cooked this up. He says that at least the affection is a negative, and that this is a good start. Considering his normal behavior, he has a chance. He then realizes that's not really the point he should be focusing on, and he stares at himself in the mirror, getting an idea. He then starts to lock in, and his status window appears. He gets excited, and we see his special condition is morbid obesity. His trait is Eye of the Creator, and the Tang Clan Venom Arts. His sync rate is also almost 100%. He says among them one stands out, it's the Tang Clan Venom Arts, and that is from another webtoon that he loved, that had a very hot heroine. She utilized a martial art that involved poison, and hidden weapons, to take care of anybody who pissed her off. He says this world's lore is such a mishmash of random things in his life, but then gets excited seeing that he can actually learn the Tang Clan Venom Arts, and this is his ticket to survival. Of course, if you don't know about the Tang Clan, they are a renowned martial sect from the Four Heaven provinces, and in a lot of Chinese novels, and just most Murim things. They are known for researching various poisons, and specializing in assassinations using hidden weapons coated in venom. He wonders what else he's gonna be able to learn, but it jumps to his father being called out to by Aaron. He asks if his son's gotten up yet, and she says that he woke up a while ago. He asks how he looks, and she says that he doesn't seem normal yet. He stumbled when he tried to stand, and his body's in poor condition. Wellington says that the priest Alyo said his wounds weren't very deep though, says that's odd, asking her if she thought he was acting a little strange. Normally if he told him to apologize to Ilya he'd throw a fit, but strangely he just said yes. His personality can't have changed, so surely he's just in a daze right now. By tomorrow he'll probably be raging, swearing revenge on her. She says that she thinks he will recover step by step. This catches him off guard, and he starts laughing. She wonders what he finds so amusing, and he says that even he, his father, has given up on him, but she still believes, that he almost feels bad for her. Now he should have just let her live her life as a knight, and he begins laughing, saying that it must be so hard to be under him. She doesn't know how to really explain it to him, but says that today he felt different somehow, and it's hard to explain. We hear her yelling, asking what he said he was gonna do, and he says that he wants to exercise a bit, saying that he wants her to guide him to the training hall. She asks why he wants to train right now, and he asks if that's meant to be a problem. Due to his Eye of the Creator, it allows him to view stats, but as for unlocking the Tang Clan's martial arts, he has no idea. He says maybe it's because of his obesity, but for now he's actually gonna exercise and find out a way. He says that just the mansion garden alone is the size of several stadiums combined, and he's already exhausted from walking, but if he tries working out in his room, he'll just feel like a lazy pig, and just fall back asleep. He's definitely not cut out for home workouts. The house hands spot him, and he says that every servant he has bumped into so far has had a really strong dislike for him, and it's very obvious that not a single person in this estate likes him at all. He wonders what exactly happened, and he says that considering how much of a bastard he is, he can't really blame them. After a bit he asks if they're there, and she says almost. This is the third training hall. Most knights use the first and second. He says that somebody is here, and we see that this guy has a killing urge, because his affinity is almost -100. Yu-run gets a little scared, and this guy's name is Reika Lion. He's trained in the quicksword, and he's asked if the young master is really here himself. He smiles, asking what brings him to the training hall. Yu-run yells out his name, and the dude laughs, saying that it's an honor that he still remembers him. Yu-run says of course, and then whispers into Aaron's ear, asking if something happened between the two of them. She asks if he really doesn't remember a few years ago, when the Marquis forced him to train. Yu-run, who was furious about it, called over Reika, who was here as a trainee knight, and he scarred his face with the sword while laughing, and that's how he's got that scar across his nose. After that, his father gave up on him, trying to make him train. Yu-run says there's no way, right? Reika glares at him, and Yu-run says he can't believe how shitty this character was, and he wonders why he wrote him so poorly, but he says that they should go back. She asks if he's really giving up, and he just asks if there's another training hall, preferably one he can use alone. She says that there's the fourth hall, but it's so far, and the facilities are poor, it's mostly just an empty field. He says that sounds perfect, and that if he's gonna lose weight, he'll do it properly. She then says to follow her, and she takes him to it. He's very gassed out from the walk, but as he gets a better look, he says that the Tang clan specializes in throwing knives and small weapons. He picks up one of the daggers, and heads over to the arena across from some target dummies. He raises his dagger up, and then puts it behind his shoulder before yeeting the hell out of it forward. It doesn't even make it to the targets, and bounces off the floor, and he says that he thought he could unlock it. She wonders what the hell he's doing, and he says that he just threw one for fun. He begins laughing. He says that he's gonna build his basic stamina first, and he's gonna run laps around the hall. He tells her that he'll train on his own, so she can do whatever she wants. She ends up telling his father about this, after she didn't know how to explain it. His father says that it was strange he would go to the training grounds, but doesn't think it'll last long. 3 weeks later, he says that Yu-run has yet to skip out on training, and that he seems to have lost a lot of weight, and even his appearance has changed a lot. But as expected of his son, without the fat he's pretty handsome. He wonders if he's actually finally matured. We see him looking in the mirror, and he sighs, saying that while he's slimmed down a lot, he's still a little pudgy. He says that the Tang clan trait still refuses to unlock. He's gonna give it a month, and if it doesn't, he'll just steal the fateful encounter meant for the protagonist. Aaron tells him that she's brought dinner, and he thanks her. And it's called chiri and soup, and it's something that's really good for burning fat and building muscle, and in their family it's customary to eat it after every training session. He's annoyed that it's the same thing again, and she asks if he's finally tired of it. He says of course, he's been eating nothing but this for 3 weeks straight. She then in a very cold tone calls out to him, asking if he only wants to lose weight, or to become a knight. He says that he wants to become a knight, and she tells him in this territory even his father still eats this soup after training, so he should stop complaining, and eat his damn soup. He says okay, and wonders what kind of outdated boomer custom this is, but says that it's helped him lose weight, so he's just gonna deal with it for now. As he raises his spoon up, and puts it into his mouth, he wonders what this is, and he says that the soup today tastes a little bit different. The status window then appears, saying that he has ingested poison, but then it updates once more, and he has finally unlocked his condition for the Tang clan's martial arts. He's a little shocked, asking if this is really how it's meant to be unlocked, but then says that kinda makes sense. Back to Yu-run's father. There's a knock on his door, and he tells them to enter. He sees his wife, who says that she brought him some tea. This is his second wife, Kaina. She asks what he's looking at so intently, and he says that he was just thinking the garden looks beautiful. She says that she's been personally taking care of it with great attention. He says that her skills sure are great, and then she hugs him from behind, asking if he will be choosing Colin as his heir like he mentioned before. Since it's already been decided anyway, it would be better to do it quickly as well. He can tell that she's trying to rush things, and says that he hates to tell her this, but that might take a little more time. She looks surprised, asking what he means, because he said last time that Colin would be named heir within this month. He says that he did, but as she's probably heard, it seems that Yu-run has finally come to his senses, and he is still the eldest son of the family. If he really applies himself, he could turn out to be a great successor. She says it's true that she's heard about him, and she was so worried, but thankfully he seems to have sobered up at last, and that must be a relief to him too. He says indeed, to think he got smacked by his fiancée, and finally woke up, that boy. She asks what he's going to do about the successor now, and he says that Yu-run has only been training for 3 weeks, and he thinks it's better to watch longer, but he promises her that if he goes back to his old ways, he'll immediately give the heir title to Colin instead. She says that she'll head to the bedroom first, and he should finish work quickly and come over. As soon as she exits the room, she's obviously pissed. She can't believe that Yu-run is trying to steal her son's spotlight. Back to Yu-run though, he says that it does make a ton of sense for him to get it from ingesting poison, but also there was a drop-down arrow at the bottom left corner of the text about the soup, and as soon as he looks at it, it begins scrolling. He says that he didn't know that would happen, and it even shows all the ingredients that it's made out of, and one of them is called the Han-yang herb, which is a very mild toxin. It's harmless to adults in small amounts, but if it builds up, it'll slowly paralyze the body until they die. Aaron sees him not eating, wondering what's wrong, and asks if he's not going to finish his food. He gets caught off guard, and says that he'll eat, and starts shoving it into his mouth, and as he does, he says that he's a little confused, wondering who could have put poison in here, as normally he's not killed by poison, and that something has changed in the flow, and now that he thinks of it, something that should have already happened hasn't, and it's around this time that the second son, Colin, is supposed to be officially named heir, but it hasn't happened yet, and he wonders if it's because he started training, and says that whoever put poison in the food is probably from that side of the family. He continues eating it as the status window updates, saying that the weak paralysis poison unlock condition has been met. He tells Aaron that he finished all of it, and that it was so good it brought him to tears. She wonders why the hell he's crying, and he says that he wants some alone time, asking if she could step out. She says yes, and that he should rest because she'll see him tomorrow. He tells her good night, and then as soon as she does, he goes to the mirror, and says that it's time to check it out. He starts to open his status window, and we see that he has the Tang family's martial arts. Also, for some reason his sync rate has gone down. He starts focusing on the Tang family's martial arts, and it expands, as we see that he has the hidden weapons and martial arts portion unlocked, as well as the poison, but there are 2 more that are locked. He then starts focusing on the poison one as it opens up. We see that level 1 is his weak paralysis poison, and they continue on. While it's unlockable, it's unavailable, as it requires inner technique. He says that there sure are a lot of poisons in here, and he wants to scroll to the bottom. It's called the Invisible Ultimate, and this is the final poison available, which means he has to unlock every other one first, and it's a level up unlock system. He says for him to get the most basic one, he needs an inner technique, but it makes sense, as they use internal energy to wield poison. He opens up the martial arts, and he has multiple options to choose from. This is an easy choice, especially for a fan of Muram novels. Dark Poison Arts focuses on poison. Thunder Needle Arts focuses on hidden weapons. And 10,000 Venom Divine Energy takes longer to master, but allows you to reach mastery in both of them together. He says the more the better, and that's how the protagonists always are. He chooses that one, and instantly starts to feel refreshed, as if his body became lighter, and he says this is unbelievable. The mantras of the technique just engrave themselves into his mind, and he says he needs to start circulating right away to figure it out. He takes off his shirt, and sits down focusing on his lower dantian. He says that he feels a strange flow throughout his body, and this must be key. He starts guiding it through his meridians, as he's storing it into his dantian to build internal strength. Night passes, and the next morning comes, and he's still meditating in his bed. He says this is amazing. All those martial arts novels weren't lying about training all night without sleep, and it's real. He doesn't feel tired in the slightest. In fact, his whole body feels full of energy, and he can even sense the flow of chi around him. He can tell how many birds are outside the window without even looking. He feels a solid warm energy in his dantian as well, and now if he circulates chi to his head, he can check his stats without the use of a window. He then senses a familiar aura outside the door, and he stares at it for a second before Aaron enters, saying that she came to wake him, but his bedding looks untouched, asking if he didn't sleep. He says it just turned out that way. She says that's not good, and he should rest instead of training today. He says that he's gonna do it, as he feels great, and like he's in top condition, so he needs to train. She says okay, and that she'll go make up some breakfast. She leaves the room, wondering when he started gaining muscle. Back out to the training hall, he walks over to the table of weapons once more, and says that it really is true. He picks up the dagger, and instantly it feels different, as what he sees in front of him catches him completely off guard, because he sees a crosshair like inside of an FPS game. He says that he'll aim precisely at the target, and he raises it up like last time, and she wonders why he's doing this again, but he throws it down full force, and it flies straight into the target, and he says that he got it now. She's confused on why it actually worked, and now he has completed the unlock for the hidden weapons. Eren is confused, asking how the hell he did that. He says he doesn't know either. He guesses the results of the past month's training are starting to show, and she says there's no way, that's not how that works. He says it's the first time he's seen her look so flustered, asking if he should try one more time. He raises the dagger up to his face, and says that when he throws something, it feels like a fiery inner energy surges up from his lower abdomen. He says that this is good, and this time he'll focus on being even faster and stronger. He locks his crosshair on, and throws it forward, and it pierces deeper this time into the dummy, but also begins to crack it. Eren screams, saying that he just broke the target board. Yurun says honestly, having a crosshair from an FPS game appear is basically like a cheat code. Back in his day, he used to play Counter-Strike at a pretty professional level. She asks what the hell is going on, and he asks if she can feel anything from him. She asks what exactly he means, but she thinks about it, saying that other than the fact that he's lost quite a bit of weight since yesterday, she can't really say. He asks what she means by lost a lot of weight since yesterday, and she says that of course he's been losing weight steadily since he's been dedicated to it, but today he is noticeably different compared to yesterday. He asks if she's certain, and says that he finds it weird she can't sense the inner energy flowing through his body, which means that in this world only he can use it most likely, and no one else will be able to detect it. Since she's a pretty strong knight, it means he's gained a pretty incredible power. He laughs, asking if he should keep practicing, and he starts throwing the daggers one after the other, never missing. He then says this time he'll up the ante, and hits the back of his old dagger with his new one, and he says this is perfect. Eren is audibly gasping, asking if she can try it once. He says okay. She picks it up, and then throws it forward just like he has. She misses, and then misses again, and he says that he's surprised to see there's something she can't do, and laughs at her. She gets embarrassed, and then he realizes something, and opens his status window. We see that he unlocked the ability to throw anything rather than only daggers. He asks if it really means any weapons, and walks back over to the weapon rack. He says he should try it with this, and tells her to step aside for a moment. She asks why he's holding on to that, as he has a broken training sword. He raises it into the air, and says that he can feel a lot of inner energy flowing from the dantian on down into the arms, and he throws it forward using the straight cut, and it flies straight into the target board. She asks what the hell is going on, saying that this power is unreal. He says that he's not really sure, and that maybe his practice really is just paying off, and she says that's literally just not how it works. He says that he knows that she reports his affairs to his father, but he has a favor to ask, asking if she can keep this a secret for the time being. She tries to tell him that's not a good idea, and he says right now he's testing several things, and that he'll explain everything to his father later, so just wait. Reluctantly, she agrees. That night, as all the servants are heading to their quarters, we see one of them named Peru, who says he'll see everybody tomorrow. As he begins walking away, he gets further and further, before Yurun appears around the corner. He uses his skill to open his status window, and we see that his trait is Poisonous Touch, and Agile Movement. Yurun says that's a trait that lets him put poison in food, and this is definitely the guy. He says this is his real test. He points an imaginary arrow directly at the back of Peru, and uses his paralytic poison. As he starts to feel it channel up at the top of his fingertips, it starts to shoot out towards him as a mist. As it gets closer, he instantly feels it, as he can't move his body anymore, and he starts to have a panic attack. He falls onto the floor, and Yurun says this is a success. He can also even see the duration, and picks him up, saying that he needs to move him first. He heads to a storage area, and Peru begins to come too. Yurun tells him to snap out of it, asking if he's finally come to his senses, saying surely he knows who he is. Peru gets scared, and Yurun says that if he wants to live, he'd better answer properly, asking who ordered him to put poison in his food. Yurun tells him that he can blink once if it's correct, and if it's not to blink twice, asking him if he understands. Peru blinks once, and Yurun says this is good. And he asks him again who the one that poisoned his soup was, asking him if it was him. Peru realizes that he can't lie, and blinks once. Yurun then asks about the poison he fed him, saying that it was the Hanyang herb. Peru is surprised, and blinks once. Yurun says this is good, and then asks him who it was that ordered him, saying that he knows it was the second lady of the house, Kaina. He's then surprised that it wasn't, as Peru blinked twice. Yurun pulls out his dagger, saying that it would be best for him not to lie, because he can tell when he is, and if he lies, he will end up slicing his throat. He says that he'll ask him one more time, asking him if the one who ordered him was Madame Kaina. Peru panics, and blinks twice. Yurun's genuinely surprised that it wasn't, saying that it doesn't seem like he's lying, and he wonders who it was. He says that he can figure it out later, and pulls out something from his pocket, saying that he should eat and swallow this, as it's called paralytic poison. Peru does, and Yurun says that from now on, he has exactly 1 month left to live. If he doesn't take the antidote he is before then, all of his internal organs will melt away. So from now on, he'll follow his orders, asking if he understands. He just lied to this guy, but Peru doesn't know any better, and agrees. Yurun says this is good. He then puts his hand on his head, staring at the duration of the poison, and undoes it from him. He says now he should be able to move and speak. Then Peru says yes. Yurun then asks him once more who ordered him to poison him. Peru says that he already told him it wasn't the madam, and it was actually the knight captain, Karok's living Tane. Yurun's surprised, and Peru tells him that he ordered that he be killed by illness within this year. He is Kaina's older brother, who got the role of knight captain thanks to her marriage with the Marquis. So his deduction was entirely wrong. He must be her accomplice, but that's not the important part. He then hands him some paper, telling him to take this. Peru says that these are all poisons, and Yurun says that there are going to be very few people here as knowledgeable in poisons as Peru is. He says that since he's so knowledgeable, it means he can definitely procure what he needs from the black market, and to go get the money for them from Karok's, and gather every one of those poisons and bring them to him, and start with what he already has, and bring him the first bit by tomorrow night. Peru's confused, asking why he needs poison, and Yurun asks if he gave him permission to speak. Peru, realizing that he's pretty much leashed up like a dog now, says he understands. Yurun says good, telling him to leave, and then warns him, saying that from now on, his soup must always be loaded with plenty of the Hanyang herb. Peru can't believe this guy is a freak, and Yurun heads back to his room and laughs, saying this is great. Martial arts are so damn cool. To think that he actually fell for his paralytic poison, and it was just dried leaves lumped together. But he needs to quickly master the Tang clan's martial arts. If it's like the setting he wrote, a terrifying event will soon happen in the outside world. The next day comes, but we only get to see the night portion of it, and Peru comes in, saying that he's brought the herbs that he already has. Yurun stares at them, and tells him which is which. The first one is the Hanyang herb, which he's already ingested. The second one is called a yekrukpa, and then this one's wooden vein leaf. Peru asks how he's identified them all so easily, as they're not very common. Yurun says this much is nothing, and it's all because of his status window. He says that if he was trying to kill him, the Hanyang herb alone would have been enough, asking why he has the others. Peru says that the Hanyang herb takes a long time, and once resistance develops, it lasts longer than he'd think. If he starts mixing yekrukpa after the Hanyang, the effect increases. Yurun says in other words, poison gets stronger and more subtle when combined. He asks Peru how he learned all of this. Peru says that when he was 8, he was sold to the Livingtane family and trained under a poison master there. Yurun asks if there are many like him in the Livingtane. He says that at first there were around 20 children, but they all died. Only he's the survivor. Yurun says it makes sense. Kids without the poison affinity trait wouldn't last long around toxins, but this guy seems to resent the family quite a bit, so maybe he's found himself a useful tool. He tells Peru that he did great, and that's enough for today so he may go. Peru thanks him, saying that he hopes he has a good night. As soon as he leaves, Yurun says it's time to begin. Since he's only at the 20% part for stage 1 on his cultivation technique, he grabs the poisonous herbs and starts chewing them. He says he's gonna eat them all tonight, and that shit tastes like ass. He begins ingesting them all, and his cultivation technique begins to absorb all of the poison from each one of the herbs. He just continues chaining until he is actually poisoned. It tells him that he needs to meditate immediately. He begins doing so, and he says he has to level up to the second stage just to see how much of a difference it is. Night leaves and the morning arrives. There's a knock on his door. As Aaron enters, telling him that it's morning, she's then surprised because she thought he'd be asleep, as she sees him meditating on his bed. But it's not just that, as his body has completely changed. She asks what the hell is going on. We see that his overall stats have increased, and he has acquired a footwork ability, as well as more poisons such as prolonged poison, truth serum, and soul-killing smoke. He opens his eyes confidently, and Aaron asks him what's going on. She then smells something, asking if he smells it, as that smells like straight ass. He doesn't know how to explain it to her, since it's just the impurities leaving his body. He says that he should go open the window. She tells him not to, and begs that he doesn't do it. She tells him that he needs to go take a damn bath, and he says he's got it. After the bath, they're heading to the training grounds, and Yu-run is happy as hell. He's looking at the footwork, and he's got a little infographic to learn it. He says that the Tang family's footwork is perfect for fast movement, assassination, and evasion. He can't believe he gets to learn it, since he's always wanted to move like in the novels. He says just copying the movement already feels really cool, but he looks dumb as hell. Aaron barks at him, and he asks what's wrong. She asks why he's walking like he's drunk all of a sudden, wondering if he's not feeling well. He says it's fine, and it's nothing to worry about. He then continues, absolutely enjoying it, and she just starts to check out mentally. She asks if he's really okay, and he asks what she means. She says that he's going to Training Hall 1 today, and that there are a lot of knights there. He says that he already told her it's okay, and he wants to observe how the other knights train, and she shouldn't worry about it. She warns him they're almost there, and we hear the knights training, and we even start to see them, and they're using some big-ass swords. They then spot Aaron, wondering if their eyes are deceiving them, saying that's the butler of the great young lord, and they don't know who that boy is behind her, as they don't think that there was such a handsome guy in their household. They then realize, saying that they heard that the young lord lost a lot of weight, saying there's no way. They start gossiping over it, saying that he was just a pig a month ago, asking what kind of sorcery he used. Yu-run says that even if they whisper, it's not like he can't hear them, because his inner energy allows him to. Aaron then notices something, saying that even though he's only a trainee knight, his form is insanely good, and that he'll become a junior knight soon, and that these moves are the basic sword stances of the Rox family, telling him to watch closely. Yu-run recognizes him, as he is one of the main characters in his novel, and a later ally of the protagonist, named Cried. Yu-run says that he never set what he was like before meeting the hero, and it's fascinating to think that Cried was training here, and maybe this will be a good chance later. But he can already tell this is going to be not so good, because every one of the dudes are close to -100 based on how much they hate Yu-run. He says that he might as well use this as a good chance to have some test subjects. First he's going to use prolonged poison, saying that he's going to start with this JoJo character. He activates it while pointing his fingers at him, even though he's acting like he's practicing the sword. Instantly the dude's stomach starts to hurt, and he drops to his knees. They ask if he's okay, and if he needs a toilet, but he says that isn't it, as he starts drooling out of his mouth. He falls onto the floor in pain. The other dudes say they need to get him a priest. He instantly feels better, and they ask what the hell that was just now. He says he doesn't know, but the pain is gone. They ask if he's messing with them, saying that he should go shit if he needs to. He tries telling them that he swears he was in real pain, and Yu-run watches, saying that that was good, and this time he's going to try the soul-killing smoke, which creates illusions causing fear and confusion. And he does that on all three of them. As it activates below them, the one dude hears a demonic growl, as there's a demon standing directly before him. Aaron hears them freaking out, and looks over, seeing them all on the floor terrified. She asks why they're all acting like this, and Yu-run's just laughing. The JoJo guy is seeing a dragon, and the other dude's scared of skeletons. I don't know what Baldi is, maybe some hymns, or Rogaine, but he's the first to notice that it was just an illusion, and the rest wonder what's going on. And Yu-run says that he can't let this turn into real bloodshed, and this is enough testing for today, and he's pretty happy with it. He tells Aaron they can head back, and she asks why, saying that he didn't do anything. He says it's too noisy here, and they should go to the normal training hall. As they're walking over, one of the servants says that she was looking for him, telling him that a guest has arrived. He asks who, and she says that it's none other than Ilya Marquis, who is here to see him. We see her looking out the window, saying this time she will definitely break the engagement. When he enters, he spots her. She looks absolutely surprised, because he looks nothing like when she last was here, and she asks who he's meant to be. He tells her, and she's in disbelief. He says it's been a while, and she says that she heard a rumor that he lost weight, but she thought it was just false, and it hasn't even been 2 months, so how did he change so much? He says it's just because he worked hard. She finds that hard to believe, and he says after she beat him up, he did a lot of thinking, and he decided to change. She asks if he's really trying to pick a fight, and he says he isn't. He gets on his knees, saying that he's grateful to her. Next to her, he's able to come to his senses, and he's truly sorry about what happened. If she wants to break the engagement off because of that, he'll accept it. Still, she's just in disbelief, asking him who he is. He says that he already told her, and again that he is truly sorry. She starts trying to think about what to do, and Yurun says to be honest, it wasn't even his fault. He's the original owner of his body. The reason he's going this far to ask for forgiveness is for a specific reason. She isn't just a simple heroine. The Sword Queen trait. With her trait, she grows stronger and stronger. Later on, she saves the fallen protagonist and even cuts down a major villain. It's thanks to that trait. That's why even if they break the engagement off, it's beneficial to make the relationship friendly. She tells him to get up, asking if he's serious. He says that he is, and she tells him that he needs to tell her that he won't live the life he did before. If he breaks that oath, she'll beat him to death herself. He says this is the line she's meant to say to the protagonist. He then activates his own martial arts, cancelling out her aura. She's surprised, asking if he promises, and he'll swear on the oath. She's taken aback and starts blushing, telling him that if he messes up one more time, she'll break the engagement no matter what. He's surprised that she's not breaking it now. She heads out to meet with Wellington, who asks if she met Yurun. He asks if she's made her decision. She will not break off the engagement. She refuses to tell him why. She doesn't really get it. She says that her father always said that people change, but there is a rumor he heard, so she was curious. She wondered if perhaps he had returned to the kind of person he was from their childhood, but instead, he's an entirely different person, and that's why she wanted to try trusting him this once. He asks if that's really all it was, and she says that it is, but if he does return to being a scoundrel, they'll beat him to death with their own hands. He says as expected, telling her to take care of him. She then says she's going to be heading out. He tells her that she needs to stay for a few days. She says that she told her father that she came here to break off the engagement, and it would be a bit weird if she stayed. He laughs, saying that she should go see Yurun again before she goes. She says she doesn't want to break off the engagement. He laughs, telling her to say hi to her father for him. Later that day, Yurun heads to his dad's office and says that he was looking for him. He turns around, surprised, asking him who he is. Yurun asks what he means. His dad says that he really has worked hard, asking him if it's to begin his night training, and his father says that's right, and it seems that he's gotten pretty quick wit now as well, and that he will now learn Rock's family swordsmanship. Yurun says he has something to tell him regarding that. Turns out he said he wanted to learn throwing arts. His father asks if he really wants to learn that over swordsmanship. Yurun says that's correct, and his dad tells him that's unacceptable, as that's a vulgar skill used by thieves. Through technique like dagger throwing, he won't even be able to get through a knight's armor, let alone pierce the scales of a low-level monster like a borak. Yurun says he'd like to make a bet then, whether or not he can hunt a borak with a dagger. And if he's confident, then he has no reason not to accept. His father sighs, saying that he's being so needlessly stubborn. A warrior's blade needs aura to destroy a monster, so even if he practiced the throwing skill for 100 years, he'd never be able to pierce one. Yurun says that in that case, he's still confident that he'll win. He tries to convince him once more to make a bet. His father calls him reckless, saying that he'll take this chance to crush that stubbornness of his, asking what the stakes are. Yurun says that if he takes down the borak with a dagger, he'll handle his own training from now on. If he fails, he'll do as his father wishes. That night, Yurun says that, thankfully, his father has reported his training, and the real test is tomorrow. He wonders how many tries it'll take for him to pierce its scales, and he's curious himself. Just in case, he should eat some of the poison herbs he hid tonight and raise his level to the 3rd star. There's a knock at the door, and he turns, seeing Erin saying that she's come to deliver a message from his father. The time tomorrow is 12 o'clock, and it'll be at Training Ground 1. Yurun asks if she knows what the bet is about. She says that it's not just her, the entire estate knows. Thanks to that, the place is bursting with laughter right now. Yurun asks why, and she says that they're all talking about how he'll wet his pants in fear or run away when he sees the borak. And it's still all because he's public enemy number 1. He says in that case, he hopes they'll all be watching tomorrow. She says that they will be because his father didn't stop them, so the training grounds will be packed. Yurun says that this is his name, but he asks what she thinks will happen. She says that tomorrow will probably be his day to shine. The next morning, we see him at the training grounds. He says that this place is really packed. His father asks if he is ready, and Yu-run says he is, but there's quite a crowd. His father says he only wanted to tell his mage, but somehow the news spread, telling him not to embarrass himself. Mage tells them that it's time to begin, and he's going to summon the Borak. Yu-run says that he can't believe he gets to see magic with his own eyes. We see electricity and smoke, and a shadow starts to form out of it. Yu-run says that what's even more amazing than the magic is seeing a monster he created as an author right in front of him. It is a 150 centimeters tall marine monster. People in the audience are disgusted by how ugly this thing is. And Yu-run says that it sure is interesting to see how it turned out to look, because that monster was something he came up with on the spot while eating some rockfish sashimi when he was out of ideas for new monsters. If it weren't for the arms and legs, it might even be a little cute. It starts to run at him. He realizes that he got distracted and let his guard down, but dodges the attack by sidestepping it, getting behind it. The crowd is surprised. His father says they shouldn't intervene yet. The monster turns, and Yu-run sighs, saying that it rushes in without thinking, but it's not that fast. First, he wants to see how thick its scales are. Then he notices a new target that shows its weak point. He raises his arm, aims directly at the crosshair, and throws his dagger, imbuing it with aura. It pierces right through its side. It makes a really loud sound. The Borak's movements completely cease, and it flops onto the floor. Yu-run says that it went down in a single hit. The crowd is speechless, but so is his father. Nothing but awkward silence for a moment before the crowd starts cheering, saying that he actually got it. Their opinions of him are starting to change. They start chanting for him. His father asks him when the hell he learned how to do this, saying that he fooled him with this. Yu-run says he just aimed carefully and hit the red spot. His father says he doesn't want to accept this, as a Borak dying from a single dagger is impossible. Yu-run says surely there's no way his father is going to go back on his word. Mage says right under the Borak's arm is a spot with no scales, and his dagger landed a direct hit. His father says that was pure luck. Yu-run says luck or not, a bet is a bet. His father tells him to do one more round. Yu-run says he doesn't want to and that he's being a sore loser. His father says he'll add another stake to the bet instead. If he wins this time, no matter what he asks, he will grant him one wish. But if he loses, he'll go back to learning the sword like they agreed. Yu-run asks if he's serious, and his dad tells him that this time his opponent won't be a Borak, but a knight. His dad asks if he'll take the challenge, and Yu-run says of course, it doesn't matter to him. On the contrary, this is his chance, and he hopes that he gets to fight the Knight Commander Clementine. He thinks this could be a chance to break his arrogance, but still, if he wants to keep getting poisoned through Peru, maybe it's better to let him be for now. His dad says that of course a fully trained knight would be too much for him to handle, so he'll settle for a squire instead, saying that should be fair enough. Yu-run realizes something and asks his dad if he can choose the one he wants to fight. His dad asks who, and Yu-run says that he wants to fight Kyrd. Kyrd makes his way onto the arena, asking if he's been called for. Wellington says that he was in training, but he's here, which means he's reliable, and that he's got a task for him. Kyrd says that he'll do whatever he commands, and Wellington says that he wants him to straighten out his son. Kyrd turns in disbelief as Yu-run waves at him. He's just confused. Wellington asks if he can't do it, and Kyrd says that he'll do as ordered. Yu-run tells him not to worry too much, as he'll only throw 3 daggers, so if he blocks them, he'll call it his win. His father asks if he sees that arrogance of his, and that he needs to teach him a real lesson. They stand off in the arena, and Kyrd's buddies cheer him on, saying that if he loses, there's no dinner for him today, and that he's going to have to run 100 laps around the field. Some women start cheering on Yu-run, and of course him being the freak he is, he instantly starts drooling. Kyrd tightens the grip on his blade, saying that he's ready. Yu-run holds up his dagger, and he says that he wants to start off light. But then he's surprised, as there are weak points all over Kyrd's body. He says compared to the match with Borak, there are too many, and if he hits one of those, he wonders if it would kill him, and he can't let that happen. He throws it with his aura, and it flies straight towards Kyrd's head. Kyrd says that this much is enough, and raises his sword, blocking it, but it sends him gliding across the arena. Everybody's surprised, seeing that it sounded like a cannon just went off. Even his father says no way, and he sees the dagger bouncing along the ground, and walks over grabbing it. He asks how he can get that power from such a normal dagger. We see Kyrd's blade is chipped, and he's already a little shaken. Yu-run asks if he's warmed up now, saying that surely he sees what happens if he lets his guard down, and that he should be ready this time, as he'll throw out everything he's got. Yu-run says that he's still a main character after all, and he won't die from just this much, and he throws it. This time, we see it's a lot more powerful than before, and it flies straight towards Kierd's head. He swings his blade, coming into contact with the dagger, and there's a giant shockwave that sends dust flying throughout the arena. All the spectators are in disbelief, even Wellington is. As Kierd is on his knees, we see that his sword has been broken in two. He drops his blade, and Wellington realizes that he was wrong, and tells his son he would like to speak with just the two of them. Yu-run says the match isn't over, and there's still one dagger left. His dad says that's enough, though. He says that they'll ask him directly. He tells Kierd to raise his head. Kierd looks up at him, and Yu-run asks if he would let it end like this. If someone aspiring to be a knight will accept such a half-assed outcome. Kierd goes to say something, but Yu-run cuts him off, saying whether it's victory or defeat, bringing it to a clear end is the way of the knight, and he'll ask him once more if he'll give up like this. Kierd says no, and he asks for a new blade, as he will not back down like this, as a blue aura flies out. His boys are surprised, and Yu-run's dad says that he can't believe that he's awakening his aura at a time like this. It starts floating around him, and Yu-run says just as expected, at his breaking point, his berserker trait manifests, and now he can test out the stronger techniques. Kierd now has a brand new sword, and he's releasing his aura, telling Yu-run to throw it already. But Wellington is still just hung up on the aura, saying that that's on par with a knight's talent, wondering what Yu-run will do. Yu-run says good, raises his dagger, saying that this time it will end here, and he throws it, but it looks way slower, and there's no aura on it. Even Kierd is confused, asking why he's so slow and wobbly. He raises his blade, asking if he's playing around with him, and swings, trying to hit it, but it floats over his blade. Kierd is surprised, and Wellington realizes that he made a mistake as it stabs Kierd right in the shoulder. Instantly he looks pained and falls to the floor, screaming. Other soldiers say that it was so slow, telling him to stop exaggerating, asking if he's going easy on him because he's the young lord. Yu-run says that it was just that more energy force was imbued this time, which made it hurt a lot more. His father says he wants to talk later. Also that he wins his wager. Yu-run smiles, and Kierd is still just in pain holding onto his shoulder. Yu-run grabs it, telling him to hold still, because he starts to absorb the energy put into it. Kierd says that the pain's all gone and thanks him. Yu-run says it's nothing, and Kierd says that he hopes he forgives him. At first when it came flying so slowly, he thought he was looking down on him, but that it was a precise and subtle technique. No one could counter such a short time, so he must have been concealing his true skill, asking if there's some secret faction targeting the family, and if that's why he's been hiding his strength until now. Yu-run realizes that this dude's a conspiracy theory nut, saying he forgot about that, and Kierd continues saying that is a noble sacrifice, and that sure was admirable. Now he's got a pretty strong companion. He says that when the time comes to fight the secret organization, to just say the word. His favorability is now 26, and Yu-run asks when he got so high, saying that they'll meet again later, and says that his simple nature is a good thing, and getting close to him, who can one day sweep through a night order alone, is useful. He heads back and Aaron says that he's worked hard. He thanks her, and she says that she's never seen that last technique before. He says that it was a new one, asking how it was. Just watching it, she ran a spar in her head, and if she had faced it without seeing it first, she'd have lost, but now she can block it. Yu-run says that she's not boasting, because among her traits, tranquil mirror mind is a powerful and rare trait. He says that she's been trained as a knight since childhood, and if she hadn't become his retainer, she'd likely be a knight already. That's why he asks if she's content with the way she is now. She wonders why he's asking this all of a sudden. But back at the estate, his dad's going through a bunch of papers. Yu-run asks if he called for him. His father barks at him, saying that he can just call him dad when it's the two of them, and stop killing the mood. Yu-run, confused, says okay. And his dad asks what that technique was from yesterday. After scouring the books, he's never seen such adventurous throwing arts. It's only been a month since he began training, so no matter how much of a genius he is, learning such a technique alone is not possible, and he wants him to tell him the truth. Yu-run says he can't do that, but he prepared for this. He tells him that he found a book. While looking through the estate library in the attic for training manuals, he came across some books. He tripped over one on the floor, hitting a bookshelf, and then one hit him in the head. When he looked down on it, there wasn't a title or cover, just strange symbols. At that moment he opened it, and light shone out, pulling something out of his head, and then the book vanished. His dad says that was a magic tome then. Yurun says of course he had to use this, because it's something he created himself, obviously, a tome engraved with the power of a great mage, made to pass down techniques or spells. His dad says that magic tomes can work that way. The estate library has so many books, even he doesn't know what's there, and finding that book was a great fortune for him. Yurun says they can call it a windfall, and his dad says that a promise is a promise, he won't tell him to learn the sword anymore, and as for the additional promise, he wants to know what he desires. Yurun says that's simple, and he wants the position of heir. Dad didn't expect this answer at all. Yurun explains that if he says that he knows his father won't grant it. His father says that since it's his authority he should, but Yurun can tell he looks uncomfortable. If he becomes the successor it might cause trouble for him, and there will likely be many who oppose it within the Marquis house. Especially his stepmother will make a huge fuss. So this one time he'll make a concession just once. His dad laughs, thanking him, and Yurun says actually he has no interest at all in the successor position. If he becomes the successor, he'll be stuck with the Marquis one-on-one all day, receiving education related to managing the Marquis estate, a so-called life without freedom. Rather than that, he should use that time to improve his proficiency in the Tank Clan techniques and travel the world to gain opportunities. His dad tells him to ask for another wish then, and Yurun says that he wishes to form his own knight order. Since he already has two in mind, he wants Aaron, who is currently his maid, and Kiert as his two knights. His dad says that that's not harder than the successor position, and he agrees that Aaron's talents are wasted as a maid, so he can do as he wishes. Yurun thanks him, and then his dad asks who he'll have as his maid, as there's no one available among the current maids. Yurun says there's someone named Peru working in the kitchen, and he wants to use him as his butler, and he'd appreciate if it wasn't specified by him but if he could assign him. His dad asks if something's going on, and he says that he'll tell him later. His dad agrees though, and Yurun says that since he seems to trust him this is good enough, and he didn't think that his favorability would be this high, as we see at 74. He says that maybe it's because he's his son. Back at the training area, Yurun tells Aaron and Kiert that they are now members of his exclusive knight order, and from now on they should train hard during regular practice, and to greet the new butler Peru. Peru laughs, telling him to take care of him, and with Aaron still just lost in thought. We get a flashback to her telling Yurun that she has a question. She says she wants to know why he picked Peru as her replacement. He says that's a pretty simple answer, and it's because he's a spy. He's a spy sent by the Silver Hawk Knight Commander, Karox, and Lady Kaina, to kill him. She says if that's true, why is he keeping him as a butler, and Yurun says that it's fine, as he now only listens to him. Kiert though as well has a question. Yurun says questions are good, telling him to shoot. Kiert says that even though there are only two, it's still a knight order, so shouldn't there be a chief knight even if not a commander? But originally the chief knight should be the one with superior skills, but since Aaron is small and delicate, she doesn't seem that strong, and that means he would be the one. Yurun says that he's right in the sense that the stronger one should be the chief knight, so that they can have a match and figure that out. Kiert gets folded, and Aaron points her blade to his throat, saying that his attack patterns are too simple. He needs a lot of improvement to not give away his moves and his preparatory actions. He says that he'll keep it in mind, and Yurun says with this the leader is settled, and it'll be Aaron's position. They start clapping, and Peru says he'll go prepare some dinner. Yurun says okay, and as he leaves, he says that it's faint and distant but he can sense the energy, and he wants to test the new technique using internal energy, not voice, to create sound waves and to deliver sound to the opponent's sense of hearing called sound transmission. It's a must-have martial art in all of these Muram stories. Yurun calls out to Peru, and Peru turns, but is then surprised by how far he is. Yurun continues saying his name over and over, and Peru is just looking around completely puzzled. He asks if this is some kind of black magic, and Yurun says it's more of a communication magic. Peru says that as he thought, not being affected by the poison too. He heard that there were black mages who specialize in poison, and that means he is one of those beings. Yurun says that he can think what he wants, asking if the poison he requested last time is ready. Peru says it is. He barely managed to prepare the snake mine because it was extracted from 100 venomous snakes. Yurun says to make sure to put plenty of the poison in the celebratory soup he's going to eat. Peru looks scared but agrees. After he eats from night to morning he sits meditating. We see he's only 18% through the third stage. He says that his internal energy is rising as fast as he thought, and he doesn't know how much time there is until the crisis. So he has no choice but to leave the estate. Yu-run tells his dad, and his dad says that it makes sense since he hasn't gone out in a while, asking if he's going to the town in their territory. Yu-run says yes, and his dad asks how long he'll be gone. In reality, Yu-run is going very far, but he doesn't need to reveal that. He tells him that it'll be about a week. His dad says that since he's been training hard, he understands, asking what he'll do for an escort. Yu-run says he doesn't need one, but his dad refuses that, saying that thing is unacceptable, and that he should be aware of his position, as he is the eldest son of the Rock's family. Yu-run says they're just going to the nearby town, so an escort. His dad tells him that he doesn't know how frightening the world is, and that he may have gotten a little stronger from training, but what if he gets poisoned? Yu-run of course says that doesn't work on him. But it'll be hard to persuade him, so he's just going to go for plan B. He says that since he's so worried, he'll do as he says. He wants to ask when he'll depart, and Yu-run says in 2 days. His dad said he'll prepare an escort, and while Yu-run's in his room, he says that he's just going to sneak out anyways. And that night, Yu-run tells Peru that he's going on a trip, but he has no money, so he wants to borrow some. And he surely has the money that Kerox gave him to feed the poisonous snakes. Peru panics a little bit. Yu-run asks if he doesn't want to. Peru says of course not, it's an honor, and he'll lend it to him right away. Then Yu-run says that he has the other thing as well. He saw it the last time when he took out the poisonous herbs, that he has a subspace pouch. It's a common item in fantasy novels, and some mysterious pouches that can hold about a ton of cargo in a small bag. Peru panics, says that he'll lend it to him. Yu-run laughs, saying that with this he won't need a bag. And there's one more thing, he hands him some fake medicine, saying it's a 1-month antidote for his poison, and that he's done a good job so far, and he's counting on him in the future too. And he'll give him the complete cure soon. The next day at dawn, Yu-run leaves a letter, saying it's time to sneak out. As he's walking through the estate, he says it's expected there's nobody around since it's dawn. An old man then says hello, saying that he sure is up early. Yu-run says yes, and he says that he's getting a pretty powerful feeling from this old gardener, and he wonders what it is. So he activates his creator's eye, but instead, for some reason just says no, and leaves. He says this is the first time he's left the castle, and he spots the magic tower in front of him. He heads to the reception desk, and they ask how they can help. He says that he would like to use the warp gate, and they ask if he's used one before. He says he's not, and they tell him that they have a mileage program. He says that he forgot he set this up, like for airplanes. The mage asks where his destination is. Yu-run says that he wants to go to Asu Castle. And the mage tells him that's far, but he understands. The fee will be 50 gold. After that, he needs to sign the user pass too. Yu-run says it's as expensive as expected, which makes it good that Peru had some money. For now, he'll use an alias, which is one that he's used for online games called Polyan. The mage tells him to follow, telling him to enter the room, and when he hears a knock, it means he's arrived. Yu-run enters the warp gate and says this looks pretty cool. Outside the tower, there's then lightning that strikes the top of the tower. Immediately, a knock on the other side of the door, leaving him confused. Another man enters, telling him that he's arrived, welcoming him to Asu Castle. Yu-run says that's weird as he didn't feel anything. The dude tells him that this is the comfortable warp field, the pride of mages. Yu-run is confused, wondering if maybe he set it to warp field instead of ride comfort. The mage then tells him to have a safe journey and use their services again. He opens the door, showing the castle. Yu-run says that this is an entirely different type of building compared to where he's been so far. But there's so many people as well. He decides to go find the blacksmiths first, and heads down their alley, seeing nothing but stores. He says it's been a while, but he can't find the unicorn blacksmith. The sky is already getting dark as well, and this is the last alley so he'll just check up here. We see a man hammering something away on an anvil. Yu-run asks if he can enter. The guy asks if he's a customer. Yu-run says he is, but he needs to ask something about the blacksmiths around here, asking if any of them are called the unicorn blacksmiths. The guy says as far as he knows, there's nobody with that name around here. Yu-run wonders if he maybe came to the wrong place. The blacksmith tells him that it's funny, as it is the name he was planning to use for his shop. Yu-run uses his creator eye to read his stats, and we see that his name is Gryanox, and his trait is demon weapon creation. Yu-run definitely found the right place, and he says he wants to take a look at the weapons he is selling. Gryanox says of course, asking if he would like to come over and browse. As he does, Yu-run asks how his business is going. Gryanox laughs, saying that since the shop is so far away and his skills aren't that great, even when customers come by they usually just look and leave, and he's not sure how much longer he can keep it going. Yu-run says that's interesting because these weapons are no joke. Every one of these swords are insanely powerful, and he asks if he actually made them himself. Gryanok says that he did, but they all turned out to be failures. Once he made them he realized the swords were extremely heavy, and even strong men could barely lift them, so no one was to buy them. Yu-run says that's because unworthy hands have touched the blades, and if the right person wields them the swords will lend their power. He still doesn't know the true worth of his own work. He says that he'll take both of these. But Gryanok is confused, saying they are failed pieces. Yu-run says it's perfect for him to give to his knights, but is curious, asking if he has any badly rusted weapons. Gryanok says and shows him a chest full of them, but says it's weird that he's looking for them. He's been setting them aside here to sell them as scrap later because they're old things that wouldn't sell. Yu-run says it's just as he set it up. He grabs one of them, and Gryanok says he didn't actually make it. It was already in the storeroom when he got here, so he has no idea where it came from, and he was going to throw it out, but it felt like a waste, so he kept it. Yu-run says that he'll take this as well. And Gryanok says if he wants to, but reminds him he's only chosen defective ones, so if he just gives him 2 gold he'll throw in the dagger for free. Yu-run thinks this is a bargain, because if the true nature of these weapons were revealed he wouldn't even be able to get them for 200 apiece. He says more than the weapons themselves he's focused on Gryanok's. He says that maybe he would consider closing shop and working under him as a craftsman. Gryanok says that it's so sudden he doesn't really know how to respond, and he wasn't exactly against closing down, but still it's very abrupt. Yu-run says he would like to formally introduce himself, and he does so using his family's name. Gryanok is surprised and starts kneeling in front of him, saying that he never expected a noble to come to such a shabby place. Yu-run tells him to stand up, but Gryanok tells him it's more comfortable like this, telling him to speak freely. Yu-run says still he should just stand up, and it sucks that he can't escape the feudal mindset of these Middle Ages. Gryanok asks why he would want to employ a blacksmith like himself, and Yu-run says it's because of his special talent. Gryanok says surely he doesn't have anything like that, and his master did nothing but yell at him anyways. Yu-run wonders exactly who his master was, and says today he visited many forges and saw many weapons, but his were different. That they had care and dedication behind them. His blades are fine, but it was especially his handle wrappings which showed how meticulously done they were. The grip is vital to prevent slipping in battle, and seeing the dedication he believes one day he'll awaken a truly special gift. He pretty much just said what he thought he wanted to hear, but he wonders if it'll be enough to recruit him. Of course, because of plot convenience the dude accepts, but has a condition, but tells him that he's not at all like the rumors say. Yu-run says he knows, but first he would like to show him something fun. He touches the tip of the dagger and cuts his finger, telling it to awaken. And he says that it's a relic of 1,000 formed called Agnes. It starts to float into the air, releasing a powerful wind. Gryanok recognizes it, as this is a legendary ego sword. Yu-run says originally the protagonist was meant to obtain this, but it's his now. He asks if he'd like to form a soul contract with it, and he says yes. It then starts to get wrapped in a yellow goo, and starts to shape-shift right in front of them. Yu-run says that it's just like he set it up. It's the voice of a cute girl, but it starts yelling at him, asking who he thinks he is to make a contract with them. He has no talent. Yu-run says that it's disappointed because it can't sense any mana from him, but the way of speaking is a little rough. They continue asking how someone so worthless got a contract with them. More importantly how he knew where they were and how to release the incantation. Yu-run says he heard it from the great prophet. It's a force setting he just shoved in to keep the story coherent. The ego sword says there's no way the prophet would tell someone useless like him that, and if they did then he probably knows her abilities too. He says of course, but that's because he's the one who wrote them. Agnes is a free-form weapon, able to divide into a main body and a secondary body. Each can transform into whatever weapon the user imagines, and the original protagonist used it as a sword and shield. Even if the secondary weapon was lost, it would always return to the main body. Agnes says that must mean that he knows he can't use her, as she can only be wielded by mana, and that he'll have to give up. Yu-run says that she's very noisy, and starts to wear her as a ring on his finger. He wonders if this warmth is saying it feels like she's melting, and of course it's because of his inner energy from martial arts. Yu-run then tells Gryanok how long it would take for him to get this place in order. Gryanok says he just needs 2 days, and Yu-run says he'll meet him at the central park of the castle. As he heads out, we hear a familiar voice as Ilya is on horseback, and she spots him, asking what he's doing here. Yu-run says that this situation is very familiar. This is meant to be the scene where she meets the original protagonist. Ilya asks what's wrong. He says that the main storyline seems to have changed. She says that she asked why he was here. He says that he was searching for a blacksmith. She says that there are many in his family, though. He says that there are, but he wanted to hire his own. She says that if he told her beforehand she would have helped him. He says it's okay, as he found a good person and is coming right now. Gryanox waddles over, asking if he's been waiting long. Yu-run says that he's right on time, introducing Ilya. A man then calls out to her, saying they are about to depart, asking who that is with her. She says that this is her fiancé, and the guy's face instantly shifts to one of disgust. He says it's amazing to see the Wrangel family's Grand Duke in a place like this, and introduces himself as the 5th Deputy Commander of the Iron Hammer Knights of the Marquis family. His name is Musk Malone, Post Malone's less tatted, medieval ancestor. Yu-run says it's nice to meet him, and he knows well enough without him having to add all that shit since he's the one who created this character. To put it simply, he's a pathetic extra with an awful personality, and in the novel setting it's like this. While Musk and his knights move around, a kid blocks their path. The protagonist intervenes, and a fight breaks out, and Ilya, who appears just in time, breaks up the fight, and their relationship begins. The most important part is that after the protagonist accompanies Ilya in battle and saves her from a life-threatening situation, he can't just find the protagonist and stick them back in, and he has no choice but to step in since he can't let her die. He asks where she's going, and she says that because orc raids are increasing near the castle their Knight Order has received a command to conduct reconnaissance and subjugation. He thinks about it and says that he has a favor to ask, as he wants to go with her. She asks why he would like to do that, and he says as someone who's training he wants real experience, and wants to see her skills too. She reminds him it could be dangerous, and he says that it's okay, even though he's like this he's good at one thing, and that's running away. She thinks about it, telling Musk to provide him with a horse. He reminds her they're not going on a trip, and even with orcs they can't let their guard down, especially since he can't feel any mana from them. They don't have the obligation, or the luxury, to protect them. Ilya barks at him, saying that this is an order, so to stop talking, do what she said. He's annoyed, he agrees, and says that if it's an order then he'll do it. Of course he doesn't look happy about it. Yu-run looks over at Ilya before the horse arrives. She tells him to stay close, as it's dangerous, and Yu-run tells Gryanox to hold on well. As they start speeding up they eventually make it out into the forest. Ilya says that from now on they'll split into groups of 5 to find the village, and if they find them to not attack first, but signal a flare instead. It's now time for them all to split up, and she starts heading out with Yu-run. One of the men say that the tracks are too messy, so it's not easy to search, and it's getting dark, wondering what to do. She says they have no choice, and for now they need to go back, but right on cue a signal flare shot up into the sky. They say that must be where the orcs are, but there's actually a second flare that gets sent up, and even a third. This continues over and over until she asks how many have been sent off now. Someone says it was 5, but Yu-run says it's only 4, so that dude can't count. She says they need to go to the nearest one first, and they start riding over. But as soon as they arrive her face is full of horror, as the soldiers are all ripped apart on the floor, as well as the horses. It's not just that, but their armor has been melted as well, and they wonder what they got hit by. They say they need to go to the next one immediately, and they start riding off. And these guys are also dead, but they have swords stabbed into them. She's panicked as the soldiers say they need to keep moving, but Yu-run says they can't, as that's not an option, and she asks what he means. Yu-run tells her that the orcs over there are hunting down their scattered soldiers one by one, and at this rate they have no chance of winning. They must stop the operation and fire a signal flare to gather their forces here. One of the men tells him to shut up, asking why he thinks he can speak up. This is all because of a troublemaker like him. Bro, what? Yu-run says that he forgot that the protagonist got cursed at this part too. He got cursed at as well for making them eat sweet potatoes or something. I have no idea what the hell that means. The knight says that if he knows nothing about battle then shut up, but Yu-run first tells him to be quiet and uses paralysis poison on him, causing the dude to fall off his horse. Ilya confused, then Yu-run says that the guy should know his place, asking if he understood. The dude says he does, and Yu-run says that he'll be watching him, and undoes the poison. He then looks over at Ilya, saying in the original novel she didn't listen to the protagonist, and stubbornly stuck to her own thoughts. There's no way he can let that happen. He tells her to judge well. She thinks about it, and says that as he said, she failed to assess the situation calmly, and to fire the blue signal flare immediately, and gather everybody here. They then do so, shooting it up into the sky, and they start to recover the corpses of the nearby soldiers. Gryanox tells him that was amazing, as he made the move according to his will, and Yurun laughs, saying it's nothing. Gryanox then asks how many soldiers will gather again though. Yurun asks how many soldiers they'll be able to get back here, and says that the sad truth is there probably won't be many, because that bastard Karuta must have gone around dealing with him. Gryanox starts to take a panic, asking Yurun what he's waiting for. Yurun tells him that it's time for a real battle, as one of the soldiers stumbles over, yelling out for them. He begins crying, telling Ilya to run away, and that she has to leave right now. She asks why, and he says that they're right behind him, and they look, seeing an army of orcs, all brandishing weapons, and laughing. They realize now that they are completely outnumbered, and she looks over at Yurun apologizing, saying that because of her they're going to die. He says it's fine, as they won't be dying here. Yurun says that it's time for him and Agnes to do what they practiced for the last 2 days, using the false body to create black iron pellets. As they form up in his hand, he says this is a skill he obtained at 3 stars, but he never had a chance to test it. He throws his black pallet forward, and as it gets right above the orcs, it looks like it's about to go crazy, but instead, it doesn't do anything but tap the weapon. They all kind of start laughing at it, until they explode. And it's not a small explosion, and it looks like a small mushroom cloud. The orcs get turned into actual chunks, and Yurun seems satisfied with it, and makes the orb come back to his hand. He says the recall ability of Agnes' false body synergies so well with his skills. The orcs now get pissed, and start charging at him, and he throws another one forward straight at them. It explodes as well, and Ilya asks what he's doing. He says that they're called black iron pellets, and he'll explain the details later, but now the number of orcs has decreased significantly. She realizes he's right, and asks her men what they're doing, saying that they can win this, and now it's the chance to defeat the remaining orcs, as they start running forward for battle. She cuts off one of their heads, as her soldiers are struggling to even pierce them. They eventually do so, and one of the orcs, scared, starts running away, before bumping into the chest of a red one. He looks up, realizing he made a mistake, before his head gets palmed like a basketball, and Ilya and the rest turn in fear, asking what the hell that is, as his size is absurd, and he pops the dude's head like a zit. Yurun says he finally appeared, and this is the legendary orc warrior Karuta. If they don't deal with him today, they'll all die. Karuta starts roaring, and just the force of it alone makes Ilya and one of her knights a little scared. He then throws the meat chunks of the guy he just crushed forward, and tightens the grip on his blade before leaping out of the air straight at her. She says she needs to dodge this, and Yurun grabs her, moving her forcefully, asking why she's just standing here, and Karuta slams into the floor, shattering it. He says that he almost died saving her, and then she realizes as she looks around that her subordinates have already been dealt with, and she begins to panic. Karuta slowly walks forward, and Yurun throws one of the pellets at him. As it gets close we see it start to shine right by his neck before exploding. Of course there's zero damage, it just looks like it pissed him off a bit. He starts growling, and Yurun says that the setting was that as an orc warrior his skin is as tough as steel, but this is very intimidating. Ilya says how dare this bastard hurt her subordinates, and she won't forgive him. She starts imbuing her blade with aura before dashing straight in, using a charging skill. Karuta of course blocks it, and she tries for a counter, which he blocks as well. This continues as she leaves him completely on the defensive, and her remaining soldiers are cheering her on. He says as expected her sword queen trait is broken. It's still the beginning of the novel, but to think that she's strong enough to push Karuta this far is crazy. His steel-like skin and armor are being cut very easily, though it's obviously just enough to piss him off. We see her realize that while she's damaging him, it's not actually inflicting enough for him to care. Karuta roars once more, and she can't believe that an orc is using aura. He looks over at her remaining group, and then tightens the grip on his blade before swinging forward, sending her flying. He says just like in the original novel she gets defeated by him, as we see her blade broken and her laying on the floor. Our men quickly run over to her, and she says it's humiliating, but she can't beat it, so they have to run away. Yurun though steps in front of him, and she calls out to him. The orc is confused, because he probably can't sense any mana from Yurun. Yurun pulls out a dagger, which I can't tell if it's Agnes or not, but he locks in on one of the targets, and throws it forward, saying this will be a direct shot. Karuta swings forward, parrying it, and Yurun says that he expected that low-key, but it's still a bit scary. Karuta then starts laughing at him, Then he sees a faint glow, because there's a chip in his armor that starts to shine before exploding. He finally begins bleeding heavily as we see a hole in his arm. Yurun says the first thing he threw was a fake. He was too busy blocking the direct shot to see the one behind it. His skin may be steel, but it seems that all of his body is. The word weak spot kept popping up through the cracks in his armor, so he couldn't just not throw it at it. Karuta realizes that he needs to lock in, and instantly closes the gap towards Yurun. He swings forward, which Yurun sidesteps, and then tries to follow up, which Yurun dodges. Yurun asks who he thinks he's pushing on the defensive, and throws another bomb in his face. He starts laughing, saying that it must be pissed, but he has no intention of letting him catch him so easily. Karuta though turns around, staring at Gryanox, and starts ignoring Yurun. Yurun starts screaming no. Karuta jumps over Gryanox, and Yurun says that he has to save him somehow. He uses some skill called Small Dragon's Treasure, which might just be another bad translation, because I don't remember the skill, but he pours as much energy as he can into it. He starts moving very quickly, and as Karuta is still in the air, Yurun manages to run underneath, grabbing Gryanox, and even dodging the attack all before he hits the floor. Karuta is confused, and Ilya says there's no way, and that speed just now is unreal. Yurun says that it's time to end this, and uses Agnes to turn into one of the highest weapons of the Tang clan called the Bloodflower Butterfly. He throws it forward, calling it a curve shot, and it looks as if there are hundreds of them just floating towards. Karuta stares at it and even Ilya says they're very pretty. Karuta at first didn't think anything of it, but now realizes how bad it is, and starts trying to get them away by slicing at them. He doesn't get all of them, as one of them flies in close and touches him before it shines brightly. He lets out a scream, and it explodes. Yurun wonders if it's over, and so does Ilya. He says he wasn't sure, but with all that power he put into the butterfly, turns out it was more than enough, as he turned him into a donut. Karuta falls onto the floor, and the other soldiers are surprised that he won. She says not yet though, as there are still small fry left, and they need to finish them off. Gryanox starts thanking Yurun, and he says just like this his first real battle ended with him being safe. Later he asks Ilya if she's hurt. She says she's fine though, but since she owes him her life she can't complain. He says it's okay, as helping each other is only natural. About what she asked earlier, he doesn't use a sword. He trained in hidden weapons. She asks if he means daggers. He says yes, just like that exploding ball from earlier, and even the butterfly, they're all hidden weapons, but she finds it unbelievable that hidden weapons could be that strong. He says it's hard to accept, and he's sure that when she spent her whole life believing the sword is the greatest, but he hopes that this does help her broaden her horizon a little. One of the soldiers says that he's prepared the magic pouch, and she says that they may not be able to gather all the corpses right now, but they should at least take the leader's head, as she starts cutting it off. She puts it up on her sword, telling everybody to look at the size of it. One of the guys says that if they put it straight in the pouch it'll get dirty, but she says it's fine, as they were made for storing enemy commanders' heads, and since it's so dark already they should just head back. As they start leaving, Musk arrives, surprised, and she is confused, asking where he's been, as the signal flare went up a long time ago. He explains to her that they'd gone too far out, and got ambushed by orcs, and by the time they fought their way through they were delayed. She says that she sees, but wonders where the rest are, and why there are only 2 of them left. He says they were all wiped out, as the orcs were stronger than expected. She says that she'll need to see the bodies. And he says it's already late, perhaps tomorrow, but she says to do it right now. He sighs, and says that he'll have to explain where they were positioned first. He realizes he has no choice now, and pulls out a dagger, and goes to stab her. As he gets close, we see his arm get blown off by Yurun's dagger, and Musk falls off his horse screaming. Yurun says that he claims he fought orcs, yet there's not a drop of green orc blood on him, only human blood, and there's no way that he'd fall for that. He's clearly been colluding with them, leaking info from the start. Musk asks how he can know this, and it's of course because he wrote it. Ilya unsheathes her blade, and he tries to tell her to wait, as his family has given the greatest achievements to her family. She says that doesn't matter anymore, and she swings forward, killing him, and they capture the other knight. Back at the castle, Gryanox starts trying to wake up Yurun, and when he does he asks what he wants. He tells him that it's nearly lunchtime, but also that Ilya is here to see him, and we see her all dressed up, asking if he slept well. He's just completely caught off guard. Yurun asks what's wrong with her outfit, and she says that they need to go to her house. He asks why, and she says that her father told her to bring him with her, asking if he'll go. He says of course he'll go. She says that she'll wait for him out front, and to get ready and come out. He says in the original novel the protagonist was the one to meet her father, but come to think of it her favorability has risen so much just from him helping her once since it's now 45. He comes out of his room, and calls out to her as she's down the hallway, and she turns around, and he apologizes for keeping her waiting. People down below spot her, and start getting excited, saying that they're so grateful to see the iron-blooded knight who stood against the orc warrior. Yu-run says that it's a noble title bestowed upon her because she never gave up even when faced to the death against an orc warrior, and the title is the exact same as in the novel. Some women then spot Yu-run, and call him the Steel Knight. He says that these names spread from the testimonies of the surviving soldiers, and that seeing him manipulate steel they probably thought he was a magician. She then calls out to Yu-run, saying that she said it before, but wants to thank him once more for saving her. He says that it's only natural, and she says at dawn this morning she led the soldiers back to the forest to recover the bodies. Back to that horrible battlefield, it was heartbreaking seeing the mutilated corpses of their soldiers all throughout the forest. She realized something for sure. If he had not been there, she would have ended up the same way. He thinks about what to say, but she says that she's just going to train harder, and become stronger, so rise above everybody else, and never be defeated again. He says now she will truly blossom her talent. She says that the estate is not that far from the castle, but her father summoned the family mages to bring them there comfortably. They stand in the middle, and she says it's time to go. The mages all start chanting before they get warped off, and in an instant they're surprised that they're already there. She says that it's been a while since he's been to their territory. He says he can't believe the scenery changed in the blink of an eye, and he feels kind of dizzy, that this warp signifies that the tower talked about must really exist. Gryanox asks if all noble families have such grand residences, but as Yu-run heads inside they start dressing him up, and he says it looks like he was summoned for a meal, and in the original the protagonist only ever ate soup, the same soup that he's been eating in his family every day, but today he'll finally get to eat real noble cuisine. As he enters, Ilya's father greets him. Yu-run greets the Marquis. He says that there's no need to have such formality, telling him to take a seat. Yu-run does, and he says that he wants to thank her. Before being her fiancée she is his daughter, and he's glad that he saved her life. Yu-run says not at all, it was only what he had to do. The chef then brings a meal, and Yu-run gets excited as he puts it down on the table, and lifts the cloche. Yu-run starts drooling, but instead it's just the Marquis family's special soup, which is pretty much the same thing he's been eating at his house. Similar to the Rox families, but theirs is richer with their secret recipe, and their tradition, like the Rox families, is to eat it after battle, and telling him to enjoy. Yu-run says that he can't stop eating this soup it seems, and as he starts chowing down, her dad asks when they're going to get married. Yu-run asks what he means, and he says that he's talking about his marriage with Ilya. He wonders if he's testing him, and we see that he has a negative favorability. Yu-run says for his displeasure to be so high after having saved her he must have hated him at first, and his answer is that he would marry her at this very moment if he could. She starts to blush, and he says that he is not yet the heir to his family, and his recklessness still makes people look at him bad. To be worthy of her he will change himself, and once he officially becomes the heir he'll take her as his wife. She can't believe how mature he sounds, and her dad asks if he thinks that's possible, as he hears that his younger brothers are known as geniuses, wondering if he really thinks he can surpass them, and become the heir. Yu-run says of course he can, and he starts laughing at him, saying that he really has changed as the rumor has said, and that he'll support him. Before he arrived a message came from his father that his presence has already reached them, so someone must have told him through communication. Yu-run asks what his father said, and he says that he asked him to contact him later by communication magic. After the meal he'll have someone show him to the communication chamber. Yu-run thanks him. He looks over, wondering what he did to upset her. He says that anyway it looks like he managed to leave a good impression on her father. They head to the communication chamber, and no shit the guy says abracadabra ring ring connect connect. It then starts to put up a projector of Yu-run's dad who is pissed. Yu-run gets a little nervous, and starts instantly begging for his forgiveness. His dad asks if he's hurt anywhere, and Yu-run says no. He then looks a little proud, asking if it's true that he saved Ilya, and killed the orc warrior. Yu-run says that he just got lucky, and his dad says that he'll hear the details when he returns, asking when he'll be home. Yu-run says that it will be the day after tomorrow. He says that if he's coming that soon, he should bring his brothers when he returns. If you've watched till the end, comment, Drifter, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.